So this is the first of the videos for your to get ready. It's a review for the exam zero to get ready for exam zero. Okay, so here we go. These are all very focused problems that I'm giving you to prepare for exam zero. So please make a very important note of these problems. This is the priority ones that you should study for getting ready for the test. Okay. So here we go. So we're going to call this review. This is the review for exam zero. Why they call it exam zero is a little bit mysterious, but that's the way it is. So we'll just live with it. All right, so the first problem I want to show you, the first couple of problems I want to show you are factoring problems. Here's the first one. If you have 64y squared minus 25x squared, and you're supposed to factor this, here's what you need to notice. It's got all three symptoms that make it a special situation and relatively easy if you notice the three symptoms. 64 is a perfect square, so is y squared, so the left side is a perfect square. All of them are perfect squares. As long as it's an even exponent, it's going to be a perfect square. 25 is a perfect square. It's on the list. So is x squared. As long as it's an even exponent, it's a perfect square. And there's a minus in between, not a plus, but a minus. So those are the three symptoms. As soon as you see those three symptoms, you right away can factor this. Square root of 64, 8. Square root of y squared is y. The square root of 25 is 5. You notice I didn't put anything there yet. Hold on. Square root of 25 is 5. The square root of x squared is x. Put one copy of these with a plus one in them, in the middle, and put another copy of these two things with a minus in the middle, and you've got this thing factored, and the problem is over. So if it says anything on your Alex test, it'll say factor. That's problem number one. Problem number two. Problem number two is x squared minus 7xy, but something weird happens. There's also at the end of it 10y squared. So it's not our regular trinomial. Even though the coefficient of x squared is 1, it's not a regular trinomial because it ends with a y squared also. What's our regular trinomial? Well, we have an x squared, then we have something like a 7x, and then we have a number 10. But this is not a regular trinomial. So here you need the special situation. The special situation, that second method when the same method that we use when the coefficient of x squared is not 1. Okay, what did we say we're supposed to do? Go over to scrap paper, take the 10, put it on the bottom, and take the negative 7 and put that underneath it. And let's solve the following riddle. What is an a times b that's equal to positive 10 and an a plus b which is equal to negative 7? And the answer is negative 5 and negative 2. Multiply them, you get 10. Negative 5 plus negative 2, add them, you get negative 7. Okay, so those are the numbers. That tells us what? That tells us to split negative 7xy into these two things, negative 5xy and negative 2xy. So now write x squared minus 5xy minus 2xy plus 10y squared. We've got four terms. Split it down the middle and factor by grouping. That's what we need to do next. So look at the left-hand side. Don't even pay attention to the right-hand side right now. Look at the left-hand side. What is the greatest common factor that can come out of there? The greatest common factor, there's an x squared and there's an x. So take the smallest of the two x's and bring it out. As far as numbers concerned, there's no numbers we can do, and y is only one instance of y and not on the other side. So we only, x is on in both of them, we can bring it out. The smallest of the two, x. X squared divided by x is x, right? We're getting the GCF. Go back to GCF, and you will understand exactly what I'm saying. But I hope you understand what I'm doing right now. I took the GCF out, so x squared divided by the GCF x is x, and minus 5xy divided by x. What's going to cross out? The two x's. What's left? The minus 5 is left after the two x's cross out, and the y is left there. Okay, so that's what belongs in parentheses. Come over to the right-hand side and rewrite x minus 5y, and like I've said in the past, a little flippantly, let's hope for the best. This is not needs to match for it to work. Now, let's look from here and up here. And what can we multiply this by to get back to the upper line here? Here it is. Let's say I multiply by negative 2y. Negative 2y. Everything but the x. The negative 2 and the y. What will that do this? Negative 2y times x is negative 2xy. What's negative 2y times negative 5? Negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. And y times y is y squared. It works. We've got it. We've got it to isolate. We figured out how to get from line 2 back to line 1. As soon as we have that, we have a match right here. That's factored by grouping. So to put one copy down of x minus 5y, and then the two leftovers, give them their own parentheses, x minus 2, and it's x minus 2y, right? This one is x minus 5y, and we're done. This thing is factored. So the factoring job was going on this problem and on this problem. Okay, I've got problem number 3. Problem number 3, I think that I'm going to go to right away to a blank page. The blank page will make it. You'll be able to see clearly what I'm doing. We're better off with a blank page. There we go. And here we go. I'm going to fetch a blank page. Okay, great. So now, continuing with our review. Problem number 3 in our review. Here's what it looks like. It looks a little long, but you might agree with me it's not going to turn out so bad. Let's see. X squared minus 8x over x squared plus 2x minus 3. Okay. Add to that plus 2x plus 5 on top, 2x plus 5 on top, and underneath that, x squared plus 2x minus 3. Here's the good news. The good news is that the denominators are the same, right? So if the denominators are the same, like you can add 2/5 plus 5/5, it's not so easy to add 2/5 plus 5/7. But the denominators are exactly the same. They have a common denominator, so we just have to add the two things on top, the two binomials on top. We have to add them together. Not multiply, add. So x squared plus 2x minus 3 is the common denominator. X squared is going to show up in the end. So is the 5, but hold on. Here's the like terms. Negative 8x and 2x is going to be minus 6x. And then the plus 5 is not going anywhere, right? The plus 5 is here. It's got to show up at the end. All right, now here's what we got to do. We've got to factor the top and factor the bottom and cross out whatever we can, right? So now let's go back to our factoring. How do we factor? I'll go to scrap paper over here, scrap paper, and I want to factor the top. So I put down the 5, and I put down the negative 6. What are two numbers? When you multiply them together, you get 5, and when you add them together, you get negative 6. Answer, negative 5 times negative 1 is 5. Negative 5 plus negative 1 is negative 6. So those are our two magic numbers. As soon as we get the two magic numbers, since the coefficient of x squared is 1 and there's nothing special going on over here, it's a regular middle term and a number at the end, you have a regular situation. So as soon as you get the magic numbers, we're done. We're done as far as factoring the top is concerned. So it's x minus 5. Getting the erasers is too much of a bother. So I'm I rewrote it. It's minus 5, and this is x negative 1. That's the top. Okay, bear with me. Now let's do the bottom. Still scrap paper. Let's do the bottom. What if you have a you're supposed to, the last number is negative 3, the constant is negative 3, and the middle coefficient is 2. What are two numbers that when you multiply them together, you get negative 3, and when you add them together, you get positive 2? So the answer is positive 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Positive 3 plus negative 1 is equal to 2. So it's positive 3 and negative 1. So put a x plus 3 here and an x minus 1 here, and these cancel out. So what's your final answer? X minus 5 over x plus 3 is the final answer. What's the one thing that x cannot be, or else the whole thing blows up and gets ruined? X cannot be a negative 3. If it's a negative 3, it'll turn into a divide by 0, and a divide by 0 blows up the whole thing and is undefined. So x is all numbers, can be all numbers except for negative 3. That is the full story with problem number 3 of our review. We have some time for a little bit more. Here comes problem number 4 of our review. What if you've got w to the 2/7 times w to the 5/11? The 5/11. What's the story with x squared times x to the 4th? Didn't we learn that 50 times we've said that you add the exponents together? That's exactly what we got to do over here. Add the exponents together. Go to scrap paper, and unfortunately we have to go back to fractions. What is 2/7 plus 5/11? All right, we need a common denominator. It happens to be that the common denominator is going to be basically 77. There's the lowest common denominator, 77. What other number is lower than that? That 7 will go into it equally, and 11 will go into equally. 77 is the only one. So 11 times, so how do you get from 7 to 77? 11 times 2 is 22. How do you get from 11 to 77? You have to multiply 11 times 7 times 11, so multiply the 5 times 7, you get 35. And you add those two together, and you get 57 over 77. So what's this equal to? W to the 57 over 77. Right? You add these two together, and we had to add the fractions together. We had to go back to fractions, add the fractions together with a common denominator, and this is the final answer to problem number 4. Problem number 5, which we can still get on this same video. What if you got, and these all sorts of letters can come up. They could use a U or a V or a W. So I'm sticking with W's for the moment. What if you have W to the 3rd power times 5/9? I'm not 5. I don't mean to say 5/9. I mean to the 5/9 power. It's a power to a power. Whenever it's a power to power, we learned whenever it's a power to a power that you multiply. So we have to multiply 3 over 1 times 5 over 9. What happens when you multiply 3 over 1 times 5 over 9? You are able to cancel out. You're able to cancel out. The 3 goes into 3 1 times, and into 9 3 times. 3 times. So what do you have left standing? 5/3. That's what 3 times 5/9 is. It's going to be 5/3. So what's the answer? W to the 5/3 problem over. All right, we'll stop this video right here, and we'll have to make a couple more videos to complete our review.